Welcome to this episode of Groundspeak hosted by Asian Confluence. My name is Aishani Jaiswal, and today we are joined by Elizabeth Yambem, founder of Dweller Teas. Groundspeak is a platform for those whose voices primarily remain unheard and uncalled for, and hence it seeks to bring out bottom up narratives and establish a new normal wherein these realities of the ground become the fundamental base for discussions and deliberations on grander stages. Through Groundspeak, Asian Confluence wants to acknowledge the situation of the status of these individuals who make such a big part of our community. So, Ellie, could you please tell us more about you and your venture and how you came upon this idea?
Yes. Firstly, thank you, Aishani, for having me. Ellie here. I started Dualities to make herbal and fruit infusions from local grown indigenous plants with traditional health benefits. And so I grew up in Manipur, but ever since I was a kid, I've always loved to make people feel good to what I've made. So my childhood days have definitely had an impact on me in terms of starting my venture. However, growing up, we had limited infrastructure and opportunities back home. So I felt, lucky and fortunate to have had the opportunity to go out of the state for my education and job. So, so when I had my first job at 23. In London at an investment bank as financial analyst, and then I moved to work in Singapore as a step closer to home. And it was also around that time when I seriously started to think about what is my purpose and where do I want to be, and to also reflect back on the journey, because most young people from the region, they it had always been it had mostly been a default choice to move away from our homes in search for better possibilities.
Definitely.
So and right, and I think that that's one of my main reasons why I wanted to come back and start my venture, basically to be part of changing the narrative of the place and the region. And I was also saying that, reflecting back on the journey I've had, like many other young people from this region, like it had mostly been a default choice, to move away from our homes, especially at an early age, in search for better possibilities. And I think that's one of my main reasons why I wanted to come back, basically, to be part of changing the narrative of the place and the region that I grew up in. And with that, I also had to change my perspective, over time, and think about not just what we lack or what we don't have, but also think about what we have, what we already have, what our local strengths are, and how we can utilize our local resources and create quality opportunities right here. And that's how I came up with the name Dweller, because dweller is someone who dwells or lives in a particular place, and it's all about uplifting the local strengths and the local goodness of the place we dwell in, and also give back to the community. And so, with that, I also had to go back to my roots and start thinking about, why not start with, naturally grown indigenous fruits and herbs that I grew up with. For example, like we have haimang, it's an indigenous fruit. You can call it, sumac berry. So I just have like very lively childhood memories of putting it in my hand and kind of enjoying it and feeling so refreshed. Then, I have memories of, elders in the family boiling this leaf. It's called nongmangka. It's a traditional, herbal medicine, and we have it when we have cold, cough. And so I just felt that, I just felt armed with all these traditional, practices and knowledge. And that's how I got the idea, to convert these, producers into a convenient form of tea, so that anyone can taste the best of nature and also kind of taste the refreshing and soothing flavors of million others, and like of basically that these are the flavors that million others and I like grew up with in this region. So it's just an introduction to that as well. So that's how I got the idea to start my venture.
Yeah, what's so interesting to me is that your you make tea, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
what Dweller does is essentially is make tea, and it's not the kind of tea that you get at every other a small tea manufacturing companies. It's everything is unique, all flavors. What I got from it was everything was really unique, and it's not something that you get easily available at a very at a national scale, let alone like an international scale, the kind of teas that you're making. um
Right.
so, Ellie, how would you describe the current scenario of business in your region, and what has been some of the biggest advantages of doing the business that you're doing from your region?
Right. I mean, I would say that it's definitely, good timing right now to start a business, in our region. And it could also be due to the fact that a lot of young people, have decided to come back, and they want to start, like, their businesses. And another thing is that the connectivity logistics have improved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That helps with, with business, and also the entry barriers are much lower. I honestly never thought that, I could start a tea business, with very limited capital, and also with the internet, social media, it's just a lot like more efficient, to test new business ideas, and try to reach out to the customers. And I think it's also got to do with like government initiatives. Like in Manipur, we have the startup schemes where they try to, help like people from the idea stage to the revenue stage at
Right.
different capacities. So,
Right.
and there's institutional support as well, which has definitely come in, to try to support entrepreneurs. So, I mean, I think those are the changes that I've seen. And in terms of like my business, like as I mentioned, the timing, and also that there's an increasing awareness, about health and wellness products, and also higher appreciation of local made products as well. So it definitely helps in at least trying to build a foundation locally before we can before we can try to expand our market reach.
Hmm. Right, right. That sounds really interesting because other people that I have personally interviewed for this series, they've all somehow mentioned that there's been a serious lag between what the entrepreneurs essentially want to do and the kind of schemes that are being provided by the government in terms of mentorship or even grants. So I think your perspective is pretty unique in that
Mhm.
you've had help from the government and institutional support as well, which is great, which is obviously like a really great thing. What would you say are some of like the major hurdles that you faced while getting your business up and running in the Northeast? Like since you are from the Northeast, what are
Mhm.
some of the major hurdles?
Sure. I mean, when I first started, firstly, I had no prior experience or background in food processing, packaging, or tea. So, I mean, I was starting, from scratch, and so, I mean, I think that's the challenge that most also entrepreneurs go through when they're starting their business. So I had to try to find my solutions by reaching out to the experts and trying to figure out a lot of the technicalities, as well as I think the most help that I got was when I found out there was this institute, like a food processing institute in Guwahati. And at the time of starting, I was just living by myself in Guwahati, just trying to focus on getting the business started. So I was at that institute. I was going there like almost every day and trying to also speak with the food processing experts there, and
Mm-hmm.
also using their equipments before I could purchase mine, right? Because that was the
Right.
best way to test. And I thought that if you could have more places like this, or if more people come to know that such places exist, then it would really be good. So initially, yes, because of my lack of experience, and I think you could say I was very naive. That's why I could get into this area. So um, I mean, that was one. And then I mean, going after the legal formalities was a real pain, because I literally had to go from like one office, one department to another, trying to get my licenses ready. And one
Mm-hmm.
license led to another. And not just that, I realized that, it could be quite an unpleasant experience as well, because firstly, you have to spend so much time, going there and then coming back. And another thing is that, you might be put in an uncomfortable situation where they ask you, to pay extra, right, beyond the government fee. And I think that makes you that makes one realize that actually the ease of doing business or starting is not that smooth, and it's, yes, it's very easy to delegate to other people, to, or just pay an extra bucks, to take care of it, but that's not the way it should be. And sadly, we have normalized this process, and the people who don't follow such norms, I mean, we are perceived as fools or stupid, for not doing it, because we are the ones suffering, because we just have to end up waiting for more.
Right.
So, I mean, this is something that I would
There's like
definitely
a
want to see
constant
some
struggle
changes.
between, yeah, between doing things the right way and doing things in a way where it's just where things are just easier for you. So I
Right.
understand that. I understand
Right.
that definitely. I think in this country, I think there's just a lot of trouble in the way that our bureaucracy works in terms
Yeah.
of there's just a lot of red tapeism, and things are not always made as accessible as they should be.
Hmm.
Right. So getting a license for your business should be one of the things that you should be able to do easily. Right.
Right.
That you
Right.
should be able to do easily if you know what you're doing. Right.
Hmm.
So I think that's one of the problems that are being faced by the women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So, Ellie, tell me, like, what do you think has been your experience as a woman going into a largely male dominated space? Do you think that your experience has differed in a very different way from that of a
Hmm.
man who's entering business for the first time, right?
Hmm.
How has your
Yeah.
experience been any different than that?
Okay. So I would say that my upbringing and my exposure in terms of having worked and lived in different places have definitely added value, and I've also had kind of the same opportunity or even better than and than my male peers. So I just try to uh, you know just try to push myself to do more, and try to create a culture where everyone, irrespective of the gender, where everyone is treated equally with respect. But definitely, when you start off, especially women in business, uh, we we are not necessarily taken seriously. So I think that we have to just remain focused and show through our work. But definitely, there are a lot of judgments, but you just have to try, not to let that affect you, and especially affect our performance.
Right, right. Because I think even though there's like a lot of opportunities that are existing for women in the last decade or so, things have improved as well.
Hmm.
But there still seems to be like a glass ceiling that you need to be a certain way as a woman to get there. There's a certain that you have to be somehow more serious than the man
Right, right.
to get at a position which you deserve as well. So
Yeah.
it's still there is what I'm
Yes.
trying to say.
No, there
Uh,
is definitely, and
Definitely, right?
I mean, and also this is not to undermine also the challenges that actually women go through, at different levels, starting from family to the society, the societal level as well, and yeah, it's just sad that we still have to go through this.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel fortunate that I'm just trying to surround myself with the right kind of people, who
Right.
can also nurture me, and we can grow together as a
Yeah.
whole. Yeah.
And what I did get from your business was that it's a largely women led business as
Yes,
well, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. We're
So that,
almost 90%. 90% of our workforce is women,
yeah,
and it
that's
is by default.
right. So, Ellie, you did mention that your business basically is also to provide livelihood to the people from your region as well. So, my understanding is that you definitely might have a lot of interesting insistence from your work on ground. So, what are some of these things? What are some of these interesting instances from ground that you can tell us about?
Hmm. You mean as a woman entrepreneur, or like?
As a woman entrepreneur and just somebody who's working on a grassroots level, what are some of the things that are bothering people? What are some of the things that motivate farmers, say farmers, to work
Right,
in a certain
right,
way? Yeah.
right. Okay, so I can talk about like certain experiences I've had. So first is you might know this. We have a flavor, a blend, which is called Roselle, fruity Roselle olive tea, and we were trying to incentivize the growers. Where we literally going, and visiting the growers and trying to give them like seeds so that they can grow it, and we can buy back at the time of harvest. And we realized that I realized that I was, if I really wanted to improve their livelihoods, like I realized that I was not buying what they were already growing or what they already had, but I was telling them something new, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, they had a lot of black rice, and they were not enough buyers, for the black rice. And I was giving them roselle seeds. Please, can you grow roselle seeds so that, and so that I can, so that we can try to find a sustainable way, to grow together, and we can do this on a yearly basis.
Mhm.
Um, But that also led me to think that how about I also think about, I mean, the local resources that they already have, and then I got this idea of, okay, the black rice. We also run cafes, so we thought
Hmm.
we should make black rice cake mixes and make like a lot of cakes and cookies with just black rice and whole wheat and something of a healthier, option as well. And then we have also made that into products. So certain experiences, at the ground, it makes you realize how we can adapt, or how we can also try to create new opportunity that can also help the help all the stakeholders at the
Yeah.
same time.
Right.
And
Sounds
then
wonderful though. Sounds.
yes, so I had a bit of a challenge at the beginning, trying to incentivize growers with the roselle, because it's highly labor intensive,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
I mean the fresh to dry conversion as well is very low. That's, and then I also have to think about like what other ingredients do I add to the blend so that I can make it better, and also it would help with with getting more quantity. And then I came across this lady. She was just like carrying 20 bags, 20 kg of Indian olives, on her back, and trying to find a buyer, and just meeting people, like them really helps you to kind of gain new insights and think about, what are the creative ways we can try to, find connection. So and since then I started to experiment with the Indian olive, and it went so well with the roselle, and now like that is one of our major ingredients. And the lady as well, like just last year she supplied like more than 1,000 kg of Indian olives, and just yesterday she visited, to try to ask about this year's I mean that she's going to supply for this year as well, and we're just planning, so I just got reminded of that when you asked that question.
Right. It
Mhm.
just sounds so wonderful because you're not really doing the business for yourself, but you're also thinking about the community development, and you're going out of your way to try and understand how you can help them best with the produce that they already have, rather than telling them to produce something for you, something entirely new for you. So
Right.
I think that sounds incredibly, incredibly wonderful. And this is the kind of work that we at Asian Confluence also want to promote, because this is about making best of the region that's already there, that already exists, rather than changing it in a way to match certain markets, and
Mhm.
changing things and changing cultures, changing traditions in a way to meet the current international market standards. And
Right.
I think what you're doing is wonderful, Ali. Like,
Thank
this
you, Shani.
sounds amazing. Um, my next question is kind of heavy. It's
All
and I
right.
think we could not do this interview without talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. And
Mhm.
I would just like to know what were some of the changes that you had to do to your business model, and to the way that you run your business during the COVID-19 pandemic, and how this has affected your business.
With the COVID, so the impact was quite significant in the first few months because of the lockdown. So April, May,
Hmm.
yeah, April, May were the worst hit months, and then we slowly, got back to like pre-COVID levels.
Hmm.
But again, I mean, we also had to do some strategic changes because firstly, the cafes were completely shut. So we were running three cafes, two in Manipur, one in Shillong, and all three of them, completely shut, and only one is open right now, and
Yeah.
it only started in November. And so I mean, so there were like the improvements that we saw were in the online space, because more people started to shop online, and I think there was an increase in demand for like more health and wellness products as well. So we kind of pushed our online efforts, and as well as we tried to, because the stores were open, so we tried to just put our products in more locations. And at the same time we started to innovate based on black rice, where we had the cake mix and cookie
Yeah.
mix, and also we also did we also made cookies, which basically we also took advantage of the gifting seasonality as well. So that was able to kind of help in running our business. Yeah.
Yeah, and what about like employment? Were you able to employ the same amount of people that you were initially employing? What did that look like?
So it remained the same, and luckily,
Amazing, that's
yes,
great.
it remained the same, and luckily also, I mean the our team members, live like they live very close to our workplace, and so we were able to find a situation where, so there were no transportation issues as such as well. So we were trying to, and apart from the lockdown period, we were able to find a situation where, we could work and keep it safe as well at the same time. And yeah, I think the fact that our workforce were, I mean, we were all located like very close to each other. I think that has helped us in figuring out the best solution. But yes, it has remained the same for us.
Yeah, like I imagine that it must have been tough with the revenue just going down the way that it
Hmm.
did. I think with almost every sector possible, and I'm sure like
Right.
you guys were no different. And what I'm hearing is that it's just really glad to know that you did not lose any employees, you did not have to fire people. You were able to run your business the way that you were running
Yeah.
it before in the best possible way, and
Yeah.
I'm really glad that things worked out for you
Yeah,
in
but
that.
definitely there was a realization, right, that our business, it's not pandemic proof,
Right.
I mean that means that our livelihoods and our business is very vulnerable, to situations which are out of our control. So I kind of, I try to focus a lot on financial planning as well, and think about, like, it was during this period where, I invested into upgrading our infrastructure as well, because and it was, I think it why it helped was because of, financial planning. And not that I was great at it, but like certain level of, creating reserves and thinking about rainy days as well
Yeah, yeah,
helps. Yeah.
yeah. So it sounds really interesting. And one other thing that I wanted to ask you, Ali, was that you've already said that you've already talked about a couple of schemes and institutional interventions that have taken place in Manipur and that have helped you run your business. What are some of the other changes that you would like to see in the way that the government function and in the way that the private sector could also help uh,
Right.
facilitating women entrepreneurs in the Northeast region? What are some of
Sure.
these things, some of the suggestions that you would like to uh, put forward?
Sure. I mean, firstly, to clarify, I have not taken any government or institutional support as of
Right.
now, but
Okay.
I was granted. A subsidized loan for the business. It's just that I think that there has to be a good reason or good purpose why, why one needs the fund, and I was just waiting for the right time to take advantage of that. And um, and I mean, yes, we do have. Government, related schemes and policies in place to promote women entrepreneurs and to also promote startups. But I think that there is definitely more scope to try to be more effective at the grassroots level,
Mhm.
and even to think about our daily, business. I think everything is connected in terms of, like, first creating the right environment, right, for the businesses to flourish. Starting with, like, providing us the basic needs such as good roads, right, good connectivity.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's still a struggle, for us to meet our growers, because, or to even collect, to gather the produce and to bring it to our, processing unit. It's still a struggle because the roads and the connectivity is not great,
Yes.
and as a result, it increases, our cost of doing business too, right, and that is quite discouraging. And second thing is that we have also normalized this, like we're used to it, become very tolerant to this. Quite sad, like, to see that how the situation is so different in Imphal compared to, say, in the hilly areas, right.
Mm.
So I would like, the government to focus, on infrastructure development, to actually, give us, good roads and good connectivity. And there's a reason why it costs more, to ship, or in the northeast region.
Yeah.
And there's also uncertainty sometimes, around it. So and and specifically with regards to women entrepreneurs, I think that in order to help them, support them even further, like we need to identify, we need to define what the target profile, what the profile of the target, women entrepreneur is, because there are also many other women, who have education and language barriers, and despite having these schemes and policies in place, because of those, certain barriers, depending on, their background and the conditions, they may not be able to make the best use of it. So that's something that I think about, because when they have to apply, for example, there's a lot of paperwork involved, and all of it is in English, and
Yeah,
there
and
are a lot of
also,
numbers involved.
sorry to cut
Yeah,
you
sure.
off there.
Please go on. Yeah.
Another woman entrepreneur that I interviewed recently, what she
Hmm.
said was that even though that these schemes exist, even though that these
Right.
hand-holding mentorship systems do exist, there's just such a deep lack of promotion
Right.
amongst women as to what could they be helped with.
Hmm.
So I think there's just like it's been like a PR problem as well, where the word has just not reached the right people. The ones that
Right.
needed the most, the word has somehow not reached them. Perhaps it's also because of the connectivity issues in terms of the network issues that happens. Like sure, like big cities may not have trouble connectivity issues, but internet has also been one of the biggest problems where
Hmm.
women are trying to work from their villages and from really remote areas. So that's also one of
Right.
the problems. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Like, I think that policies or schemes may be in place, programs may be in place, but the requirements to even get into it as well can be really tough
Yeah,
for a lot of women entrepreneurs to make the most use of. So that's something that I think first is to kind of identify or define what the profile of the woman entrepreneur is as well.
right.
So in order to be more effective, and and again, with, going back to the infrastructure as well. So because when I was doing my research, I found that 20 to 40% of horticultural producers in India, they end up going to waste. And of course, there are many reasons for that, such as, lack of value additions. We're not, further adding value to it, or but other reasons include, like, having storage issue, having transportation issues.
Hmm.
So in order to best, utilize or create value from what we have, I think we need to have the right infrastructure in place as well,
Right.
which maybe, not directly but indirectly relates to supporting, entrepreneurs and businesses and our livelihoods as a whole.
Yeah, very rightly said. And I think this is one of the basic, like this is one of the like the most basic things that could be done to greatly improve livelihoods and to greatly improve where you could actually like have like I think then you might be facing issues while shipping as well, because shipping from the northeast takes longer than other cities,
Yeah.
right? That's also a
Right,
problem.
right.
But
We have a daily transportation by air, by road, but still, it is expensive, and I mean, even right now, just comparing the cost as well. So it's more costly to ship from here to other parts, and that also makes. We also have to increase our prices as well accordingly. So,
right,
um,
right. I completely understand that.
mm,
Ellie, you've given us some amazing answers, and you've really shown us what it's like to be a born and brought up like homegrown entrepreneur who is not just doing business for the benefit, for her personal benefit, but also trying to make use and trying to provide a livelihood to the communities. And I'm really glad that we could have this conversation with you. Is there
thank you.
anything else you would like to talk about before we take our leave?
I think it's also important that we focus not just on the quantity but the quality of opportunities that we can create here, and that's definitely based on, innovation and trying to create, like, quality products and branding, and because through that, I think we would have the most, benefit of earnings as well, and it would also be more sustainable in the long run.
Right.
So yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us. It really means a lot to us at everybody at Asian Conference, not just me. That you could take time out of your busy schedule and talk to us about some of the problems that you've been facing and give give a wider audience a chance to understand what it's really like to do business out of the Northeast,
Mhm.
where it's completely, it's almost, it's an indigenous business in a way that you're trying to protect, preserve traditions as well in a way. So thank you so much for being with us, Ellie, and we hope to collaborate with you in the future on more projects, not just Awe and not just Groundspeak, but definitely some more projects where we can have your expertise on the issues as well.
Thank you for having me, Shani. It was
Thank
nice to
you.
talk to you.